Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar on commuting downtown today. Thank you so much. My name is Daniel Pope. I'm the executive director with the Seattle 2030 District. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We're just waiting for a few more folks to come in. While we're waiting, please make sure that your sound is off, that your microphone is on mute. And we will just start getting into this right away. If anyone is interested, this will be posted to our YouTube channel after the event in case you find it useful and would like to share with anyone else. So feel free to do so. And with that, I am going to just jump right in. So we're really excited to be talking about, challenges, updates, and opportunities for downtown businesses as they're looking at how to get people back to work and different ways that you can encourage employees to actually be coming back into the office. We're going to be hearing about some new opportunities for how to make that happen. But first, I just want to share a little bit about the Seattle 2030 District. Most of you probably already know, but the Seattle 2030 District is one of 23 2030 districts across North America. Our mission is to help property owners and property managers reduce their energy, water, and transportation emissions by 50% by the year 2030. So we do this in a variety of ways through education programming like this, but also through building analysis and building performance recommendations to property owners, and also by creating a network of like-minded people who are all pushing for these same energy, water, and transportation targets. We have a number of really amazing sponsors who have helped support our programs and continue to do so. You can see a list of them here. If you want to see more about our sponsors, definitely join us on April 19th at our upcoming Vision Awards, which is going to be at 5:30 p.m. at the Seattle Convention Center. And then on April 26th, our next education forum is going to be about exploring building envelope performance. And that's going to be live and in person at 8 a.m. at NBBJ's offices in downtown Seattle, sort of over by REI. So we really hope that you can make it for that. We're excited to be doing more of these in person. But at this point, I'd like to just thank our panelists who are going to be talking. We are joined today by Abel Pacheco and Lita Chahim from King County from Sound Transit. We're joined by Zarina Infante from Commute Seattle and Rocco DeVito from King County Metro. We are so thankful for you guys to come out and talk to our members. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, but please feel free to throw any questions in the chat as we go. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Abel.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Abel Pacheco. I'm the Government Community Relations Director for the Central Corridor, and I'm also joined by my counterpart, Lita Shahim, who is the other the other Government Community Relations Director focused on the West Seattle Ballard project. Next slide. So this is our agenda for this presentation this afternoon. First, we're going to just give you a quick update on Sound Transit system now and the future, and what the vision of the future will look like for the Sound Transit system. Quick update by my colleague Lita on the West Seattle Ballard link extension. And then I will speak to both our ridership and focus on improving the passenger experience. Next slide. So this is the current system as it exists today. We did have an opening of an extension of the Northgate link extension that opened in 2021. And so the system has three new stations. Three new stations. And so we anticipate the next opening to be the Linwood link extension, which will have an update in terms of opening later this year. Next slide. Voters in 2016 did approve the ST3 package, which is the largest transit expansion in the country. And you can see what the future of the system will look like once it's fully built out and operational. Next slide. And next will be Lita.
All right, thank you, Abel. I'm just going to briefly touch on the West Seattle and Ballard link extensions and provide you all with an update, just building on what Abel shared about expansion and the future. So West Seattle and Ballard link extension projects were included in the Sound Transit 3 plan. It's 2 light rail extensions. One is West Seattle link extension, one is the Ballard link extension. And the Ballard link extension includes a light rail only downtown tunnel. We'll have additionally 12 miles of light rail service serving 14 stations across both projects. I'm just going to focus in on the Ballard link extension and the project timeline, just to give you all an idea of when these stations will be available for folks to start using. So we're in the planning phase right now for the project. We expect to be in design starting in a couple years here and really begin construction in 2026 with Ballard link extension opening between 2037 and 2039. For downtown, we are targeting 2037 at this time. And recently, as we are in the planning phase, the board gave us some direction on the Ballard link extension preferred alternative. We are in the environmental process right now. This designation is not a final decision. It is an indication of where the project may be headed. We will have to prepare additional environmental documents for folks to review, but at this time, we do have this direction on a preferred alignment. And so just focusing on through downtown, there will be a few new stations, a new station south of CID, a Midtown station shifted to a location we're calling the north of CID location with a transit hub at Pioneer Square, Westlake Station being another key transfer point. So a second Westlake Station where you'll be able to connect to all lines in the system, just like that further south station there. And then we're continuing to study the Denny Station locations there in South Lake Union. Moving through South Lake Union, and I probably won't spend a ton of time. We've got South Lake Union Station, and then a Seattle Center Station as well. And I will. There's Ballard stations, a Ballard Station, Interbay Station, and a Smith Cove Station. I won't spend a ton of time on here. I'll just hand it back over to Abel to talk about what's going on right now.
Thank you, Lita. I'm just going to give a quick update on both our ridership changes or changes to ridership that we've seen, and then what our focus has been and what passengers can experience in terms of improvements that we are focusing on this year. Next slide. So our average ridership is has already surpassed pre-pandemic levels, but in 2019, we had averaged 170,000 weekday riders. This past year, we got up to, and during the low point of the pandemic, we reached to 30,000 weekday riders and started slowly creeping back up to 113,000 weekday riders. And we are now at consistently at pre-pandemic levels in terms of ridership. But we have seen some shifts in terms of the ridership. Commute Seattle, I think we'll share a little bit of information about the commute survey that they recently completed and where the shifts in ridership have happened and commute patterns have happened. There's been an increase in particular focus on Tuesday through Thursday as well as Saturday. Next slide. So our weekend ridership has increased. It's been a bright spot for us as a system with respect to Saturdays, where Saturdays you can see where we were in October of 2019 and where we are in terms of October of 2022. This shows that it reflects to us that there have been shifts in transportation behavior among our passengers. And so we expect some of these trends to continue as the system continues to expand. Next slide. As I shared, we had the Northgate link extension occur through the pandemic. And with those stations opening, we did see an increase in ridership. We anticipate to see additional increases as the system continues to expand to that ST3 vision that I showed earlier. Next slide. We have a quick update from our CEO that I think does a good job of highlighting the investments that Sound Transit is focused on this year that will be of particular importance to those on this call.
Hi, it's Julie from Sound Transit. I want to tell you about some changes we're making in the coming months and throughout 2023 to improve the rider experience on Link Light Rail. We've heard from you, our communities and our riders, that you want to see more attention on cleaning and on safety. Those are among two of the many initiatives that we're going to do to improve the rider experience on all of our service throughout Puget Sound region. Let me show you what we're going to do. Going forward, you'll see us focusing on cleaning our stations more often over the course of this year. And we're bringing back the trash cans at downtown station platforms. At the Rainier Valley stations, we're adding LED lighting for the stations and the platforms. Now let's talk about elevators and escalators. It's a huge concern for all of us, and we are working to improve these items. In the long term, we will be replacing the old escalators and elevators in the downtown Seattle tunnel stations. In the meantime, we will continue to have our crews respond to these reported issues as soon as we are aware of them. To increase rider support where they are and as they are riding, we're adding station agents. These will be at Northgate and Westlake stations. By the way, those are our busiest stations. These agents will answer rider questions and provide rider support. We hope to expand this in coming years based on rider feedback. We've also revamped our security contracts. The security presence will be more visible and it will have improved response times on board and at stations over the course of this year. We're also working with partners to put more focus on helping to connect those people in need with social services resources in real time. The Sound Transit team has already started all of this work. Now, these issues didn't happen overnight, but I want you to know we have heard you and we are taking action now and accelerating through the year. Thank you for riding Link. Look forward to riding with you in the future.
Thank you.
Hi, it's
Next
Julie
slide.
from Sound Transit.
That's a message from our CEO, new CEO, Julie Tim, who started at Sound Transit September of last year. As Julie stated in the video, I just really quickly will touch on some of the investments that we are focused on downtown. She mentioned station agents at Northgate and Westlake stations. They've already started to roll out. We will have them in full implementation by June of this year. Again, this will help passengers with both wayfinding and as well as having additional eyes at the station. In January, the Sound Transit Board did vote to increase the number of security contracts that we have in place from 2 to 4. Our security team, our public safety team is currently in the process of that transition, as well as making sure that we are staffing up. And so you will start noticing a more visible security presence to help ensure that the code of conduct, the transit code of conduct is followed. Julie mentioned the repair and replacement of DSCT escalators and elevators. Sound Transit Board did last year did approve a multi-year program, which is our State of Good Repair program, to ultimately replace all the escalators and elevators within the downtown tunnel. This is an asset. The downtown tunnel has been an asset that's being transferred from King County to Sound Transit, and so in receipt of that property, that we are starting the replacement for those escalators and elevators. We have upgraded some of our cleaning protocols and working in partnership with King County Metro. Julie did mention the bringing back the trash cans to the station platform, so folks are able to see those. We have a pilot underway with King County Community Health, which is focused on our passengers that are experiencing a behavioral health crisis on the system, and they're focused within the downtown tunnel. And again, when we think about the code of conduct and some of the challenges and experiences that passengers have experienced, how our enhanced security efforts can ensure that everybody has a safe ride. Next slide. And that is it for Sound Transit.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Abel. We really appreciate it. And Lita. Now I'm going to turn it over to Zarina Infante from Commute Seattle.
Hi, everyone. Okay, sorry, trying to get these slides up. As Daniel mentioned, I'm Zarina. I'm a program manager here at Commute Seattle. I'm joined by our transportation specialist, Kurt Winter. To tell you a little bit more about who Commute Seattle is, we're the nonprofit that helps make it easier to bike, walk, roll, take transit for the 600,000 people that live, work, and go to school in Seattle. We do that by working directly with property managers, businesses of all sizes, community organizations, and of course, having close relationships with the transit agencies. With that, I'm going to pass it to Kurt, who's going to provide some insight on how Seattleites are getting around the city.
Yeah, so we conducted our biannual Seattle commuter survey this past fall. So what we have here is kind of a snapshot of how workers reported how they're getting to the downtown Seattle areas for their weekly work. We have a daily distribution here that shows kind of the different modes that are being used throughout the week. And one of the key patterns that emerges here is kind of the dominance of telework on Monday and Friday. You'll see on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the telework number decreases quite a bit. And you have complementary increases in drive alone, transit. You also see those in biking, walking, and carpool. So that kind of indicates that this pattern's not just for people that are living further outside the city. Telework is still kind of a prominent form of work that people are using within biking and walking distance. So just to give like an overview, it's not just people outside the city that are teleworking. It's also people within the city. To give kind of a slightly different view of that same information, the graphic on the right here shows kind of the total commute trips being made each weekday. So total commute trips are on the y-axis, day of the week is on the x-axis, and it's divided by in-person and remote. So what you can see here is that in-person attendance is actually the majority of workers that took the survey Tuesday through Thursday. This may be something, this may not be new information to a lot of you that have different ways to track attendance in the office, or have just been monitoring head counts or something in some other way. But the data really kind of highlights how much people are coming into the office, more so on the Tuesday through Thursday period, with more than 60% of employees showing up in the office on those days. So one of the main recommendations we would make is, if you have any, free programs for your, in office attendees, or some events or anything that you're looking to engage larger groups of people, targeting those Tuesday through Thursday periods will be kind of your most successful way to make sure you're getting as many eyes on the products or opportunities to kind of pass along information to people in person. And I wanted to conclude by showing just a quick preview of a commuter insights report that we're developing for. Currently, these are for work sites. We will be developing a similar report for properties in the area. So on the left side, you just have a quick overview document that kind of outlines what the rest of the report is telling you. Gets a little bit of more information about some of the more complex numbers that are being presented. In the middle slide, middle section, you have greenhouse gas emission estimates from the commute information that we collected from your workers, along with drive alone rate and vehicle miles traveled, which are kind of the historical WSDOT metrics that have been used to kind of evaluate how effective commute programs are, and if goals are being met. A lot of them have been based on those in the past. And then down at the bottom of that, you have the classic mode split information, similar to what I presented earlier, how people are getting to work at those work sites throughout the week. And then finally, on the right hand side, we have a comparison with how people reported getting to work pre-pandemic So you kind of have a comparison of how people are getting to work now versus how they reported getting to work previously, along with a day-by-day breakout, similar to what I showed earlier as well. Along with some of that kind of similar to what has been done in the past information, we also asked a couple more behavioral questions and presented that as well in terms of why people are choosing the modes they would like to, and presented that in these reports as well. So look forward to passing these along to properties you might be engaged with in the coming months. Pass it back to Zarina to talk about current opportunities.
Cool. Thanks, Kurt. I want to start off by saying there are far more than 3 current opportunities when it comes to the downtown commute. But given the time we have today, let's just jump into the ones we decided to talk about right now. The first being the Pike Pine Renaissance Project. This is just one of many access improvements we can look forward to. And we truly encourage you to engage employees about more people-centric infrastructure coming to our city. This project in particular stretches along Pike and Pine from Capitol Hill to Pike Place Market, and there will be connections to the new waterfront. We're going to see more visible crosswalks, wider sidewalks, more greenery, protected bike lanes, and just more generally welcoming space to stop and soak in our wonderful city. The picture here today is a render of the bridge going over I-5 on Pine. Again, you can see protected sidewalks, and really this space for families, commuters, visitors, cyclists, all to enjoy alike. The second opportunity, we want to share a bit more insights into other findings from our survey data. Kurt had mentioned, we asked questions about why people are deciding to travel the way they are, whether that's driving, going to work. What's interesting is if we dive deeper into the data, those with dependents clearly are far less likely to take transit, more likely to drive to work, but even more likely to telework as depicted here. And what's interesting is the mode choice factor behind time and convenience, which is probably no surprise to you all, is of course familial obligation. So school pickup and drop offs, childcare, things like that. Another finding is that those who generally work in person and take transit with and without dependents, behind time and convenience for their reason is that a free or subsidized transit pass from their employer. So it's great to see how impactful that transit pass benefit is from employers. And we're sharing this with you today as the folks who may be able to continue taking special considerations and can continue implementing solutions. One solution being van pool. We also saw that employees that commute into downtown using van pool on average have the longest commute. Additionally, we identified at least 224 van pool reserved parking at commercial buildings downtown, with only about 60 of them currently being used. Again, telling you that this today that Commute Seattle can assist tenants, employees, your colleagues to start a van pool program, not only just to utilize those parking spaces as required by the city, but just again to build communities, have a huge savings and Orca business program, which Metro will talk a bit more about after us. But the cost of the van, maintenance, insurance, gas are covered under that business program. The last thing I wanted to share with you all today is the Pave Commute app tool. Before I get into what it is, right now, SDOT is currently subsidizing the Pave Commute app pilot for buildings who have transportation management program requirements. There's about 250 commercial buildings in Seattle that have these that are affected by these requirements. So if you have those, you can automatically qualify for this. And what it is a commuter experience app. Users can log trips, earn earn coins and redeem them for prizes and really engage, others who are commuting similarly. If you're interested and would like to sign up, it's free to do. There's no administration required. And I think if you are already considering an app for your building, I'd say this is a great test to see, what kind of interest there is and how impactful it is for you. And with that, these are just some examples of how you can connect with us. We encourage you to reach out, just even have a chat with us on the challenges you're seeing when it comes to folks commuting in and out of downtown. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Commute Seattle. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rocco DeVito with King County Metro.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to hear from me today, and I hope I can answer some of your questions. I know from our discussions earlier that there had been questions about safety and security, and so I kind of want to dive into some of our rider, non-rider survey and talk about that a little bit. We really understand that service quality and safety concerns are at the top of people's minds. We've heard that from both people who currently ride transit and those who don't but might want to. Part of the service quality, and I know a lot of people have talked about missed buses. That has a lot to do with the nationwide bus driver shortage. We're working with our drivers and our union partners to find ways to hire more drivers faster, and so that we can provide more regular service, and we'll continue to work on that. And overall, especially on light rail users, we can see that the overall kind of satisfaction with transit is correlated with both safety and cleanliness. And I know that Sound Transit is working on some projects, and Metro is as well. We've again heard that folks have presented these issues, safety issues. We've already increased transit security officers over the past year, and we're looking to hire more. We also have a safety, security, and fair enforcement group who is looking at ways to, work with folks who may be having a crisis. We are partnering with behavioral health specialists through DCHS to provide some on-site services and wraparound services for people in crisis at different locations and different terminals throughout King County. We're also working with operators who are on light duty assignment, and we're training them as ambassadors. We're calling them terminal ambassadors. They are we work with them to train them on de-escalation, but also how to help customers navigate the system and generally answer questions. We partner them with our communications team, who helps the people on the ground to coordinate services, be it with our partners at DCSH or with the sheriff's office if needed, to help folks if needed. Those, we are slowly kind of rolling out that ambassador program, and you'll start seeing them some more. Currently, we are working to place those where there's the greatest need, and so right now they're operating during the day, and we're especially putting them in places where we have a lot of youth ridership. So some locations near libraries, certain libraries, transit centers, and schools throughout the central and south parts of Seattle and King County. We are also working to improve health and safety at certain transit centers, and so some will be getting overnight security and support, and some will also be getting public restrooms as well. I believe those are in Aurora Village and down in Burien. Let's see next. But part of what we want to recognize is part of the issue is correlated to kind of people's perceptions. And while we definitely have work to do, folks are more likely to hear negative things in kind of the media and the press than they are from people who actually ride the system. So we definitely want to get positive stories out there and see more ridership. We'll see, kind of improvement in things as we increase ridership. To that point, this just is an anecdote. This graph is from Link, but overall, we're seeing folks return to transit. Metro is probably about 60 to 65% of pre-pandemic ridership is back. And for Sound Transit, you can see that that's on Link. It's already kind of above pre-pandemic levels. But I want to also point out that we really see also a mode shift, or I should say when people are riding, we're seeing a lot more weekend riders, both on Sound Transit, but also on Metro, and less peak travel. So we're also trying our best to accommodate those shifts as people go in and out of work at slightly different times. Next, I do want to talk a little bit about our employer programs that we have that individual companies can sign up for, or we can also work with property managers and buildings if that's something folks want to do. We offer our Orca Passport program, and it covers all transit in the region. So these are all of our local bus partners. We also work with, it also works on light rail, sounder, monorail, streetcar, as well as the fast passenger ferries that Kitsap Transit in King County operate. Also part of that program is Vanpool. Just like Commute Seattle said, we have kind of a increasing usage of Vanpool, and it can be an option for a lot of folks. We've been operating for over 400 years, and now post-pandemic, we still have 800 vans operating and increasing every day. We have flexible options from 3 to 15 people, and can help people around working limited time. So maybe you only work 3 days a week, but you can get a van going with many more people who might swap out on different days. And so there's a lot of different options, and we're trying to be more flexible with Vanpool and signing folks up so that it meets the needs of kind of a more kind of today's office worker as well. So just to summarize, these are all the things that are included in an Orca Passport program. For bigger companies, we also offer a more customized package, and I'm always happy to talk to folks about that if that's of interest. And one last thing I'd love to point out is that recently Metro launched Metro Flex. In the past, you may have seen some of these last mile services as Via Transit in South Seattle, Ride Pingo in Kent, and Renton, Community Ride over on the east side. These services were different pilot programs that we were operating. We have decided to consolidate them in Metro under one app and one service called Metro Flex. So you can still use those things, like again, just getting a van from a light rail station to your home, or travel within certain areas by on-demand shuttle. And so that is something we've launched, and you can learn more on our website. If anyone has any, well, thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Well, great. Thank you again to King County Metro, Commute Seattle, and Sound Transit for joining us to talk about this. We wanted to leave plenty of time to open it up for questions, and I'm happy to get us started. One of the things that we've been hearing about from the Seattle 2030 district members is that there are a number of obstacles for getting people back into the office and getting them to take public transit. What do you all see as sort of the biggest obstacles, and how maybe can we work on addressing those? And maybe I'll kick it to Rocco, just in the interest of picking somebody to try and answer a question.
I mean, I think a big part of it is just a change in mindset. I mean, we've kind of all been home for a long time, and it's easy to kind of be in our little bubbles, even me speaking from my living room. And you know, that change can look a lot different for other people. It might be returning to transit. It might be riding an e-bike some days of the week when it's nice out, or it might be you know, taking a van pool. And so I think it will just take a little folks looking at the options again, and providing those benefits. We're seeing, you know, uptick, especially in smaller businesses who don't have kind of the parking availability or parking available, like access to garages, really come looking for transit benefits. And we're happy to work with those folks.
And to quickly pile on that, I think the two top reasons people chose for why they're commuting the way they are, which includes telework, is time and the duration of the commute, and flexibility and convenience. So essentially, like, you know, you're at zero for time on a remote worker. So it's tough to beat that, but I think providing value in that time as well, whether it's through van pool or people being able to take public transit and not have their attention on the road, there's opportunities to kind of push people to show that there's value in some time, and you know, that it's not just a work from home world. It's about demonstrating the value of what being in the office is, and you know, kind of showing that commute time
Is worth it.
is worth it.
That's great. Well, so, you know, from an employer perspective, it seems like there are some really great options, and we've touched on a few of these. Commute Seattle mentioned, you know, sort of 3 opportunities for trying to maybe engage employees. We've also talked a little bit about the Orca Passport and the ways that employers can subsidize their employees taking public transit. What can we do, you know, as the business community in downtown Seattle to help, you know, encourage our own employees? Aside from the mindset change, are there other opportunities that we can explore for trying to just encourage people to start getting back on the buses, back on transit?
Yeah, I think I would just echo what Kurt just said about making it as valuable as possible, but also addressing those barriers that, you know, all 3 of our panelists mentioned, whether that be implementing solutions for childcare. I can't think, I went blank on a second example, but essentially it's just providing solutions to those barriers that the typical remote worker, you know, cites as the reason to not.
I think, Zarina, you had mentioned previously that one of the big obstacles, or one of the biggest drivers of people using single occupancy vehicles, was childcare and having to take kids to and from school and work. And in the chat, I see Ross mentioned that having daycares near transit centers and link stations could help with parents driving. Is that part of the conversation that's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nothing new. It's part of the conversations constantly with transit agents, with the cities, with property managers, with businesses. It's a great solution, obviously not the only one, but I think it just really drives down to, again, how are we going to support the commute? How are we going to support people traveling and taking the time to leave the comfort of their own home or the comfort of their own vehicle?
Great. So another question that we had in advance of this call was if you all can share any kinds of insights into any potential future disruptions to public transit that we might see coming down the pipeline that we can start to plan against. Is there anything coming that we should know? I know that Sound Transit is planning pretty big expansions, but I'm wondering if there's any anticipated closures or things that we could expect, or where to look for those.
I can go first on behalf of Sound Transit. So we do have a number of projects that will be occurring both throughout the system and more specifically in downtown. Those projects, the details of those projects are yet to be finalized, and so those projects are really thinking about just how we can get the system up to up to speed to kind of to get ready for the expansion of both Linwood Link and East Link. And so as soon as more of those details are available, I'll be sure to circle back with you, this group and others in the downtown community, so that we are able to disseminate it.
Yeah, there are some years down the road, right, where we're planning a new downtown tunnel, which of course is going to come with construction impacts. We're trying through this planning phase and through, of course, the design phase to look through and understand the best ways that we can support people being able to move around downtown and access transit and mitigate for those kinds of challenges. But we know we're going to see some. So construction won't start until 2026, the earliest, but that is a few years away. So we are thinking about that.
Great. We've got a question in the chat from Carrie. She says, I'm curious why a new downtown tunnel instead of using the existing tunnel?
Yeah, it's a great question, Carrie. We get that question a lot. So the light rail system is being expanded to provide access all around the region, to Everett, to Tacoma, of course, to the east side, Bellevue and Redmond. And what Abel was talking about with our jumps in ridership that we expect with each opening, looking out into the future, one tunnel did not have the capacity to support that regional ridership at the sort of service frequency that we would like to see, as well as just reliability. And so a second downtown tunnel allows for us to provide that service to the region into the future.
Thanks so much, Leda.
Mm-hmm.
For Metro, I mean, I don't foresee much more construction than we have planned at the moment. I think the G, there are some changes around the construction for the G line and eventually for the J up East Lake. But I think it, for benefit of transit is well, folks will hopefully be able to use more transit as we get closer to the Revive I-5 project, which is going to close a significant amount of I-5 coming up for a couple years, I believe. And so hopefully we can provide solutions for that as well.
Well, that might jumpstart our public transit adoption as well. Well, great. Does anyone else have any more questions for our panelists? Then with that, I'm just going to share the link in the chat to our next education forum that's coming up on April 26th. That one is going to be focused on building envelope opportunities and how property owners and property managers can reduce or hit their energy targets through making upgrades to their building envelope. But I hope you'll all join me in thanking our panelists here from King County Metro, from Commute Seattle, and from Sound Transit. Thank you all so much for coming out and sharing about what's coming down the pipeline for us and how different ways that people can engage with our public transit opportunities here in Seattle. We are going to share these slides. We can share these slides with anyone who joined us today, and also we'll be sharing a recording of this on our YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event and hopefully out riding the buses, the link, and on bikes.